Okay, so imagine this. You walk into a casino ready to, test your luck, right? But before you even place a bet, the house takes a cut right off the top.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's what Delta Core is dealing with.
Yeah.
And they're India's biggest gaming and hospitality company, and we want to figure out if their gamble's going to pay off.
Yeah.
We've got their Q3 FY24 earnings call, transcript, company announcements, financial reports, the whole shebang. So let's dive into this world of casinos and taxes and see how they're maneuvering.
It's wild, right? It's almost like if the government suddenly decided to tax movie theaters on the price of popcorn instead of ticket sales.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, and that's kind of what India's new GST rules are doing to casinos like Delta Corp. They're hitting them with a 28% tax on the sale of chips, not their actual winnings.
So like before they've even earned anything.
Exactly. It adds like a 6% cost to their operations right out of the gate.
Ouch. That's got to hurt. Especially for a company as big as Delta Corp. You'd think they'd have some advantages in this situation, right?
You'd think so, right? But it's tricky. Smaller casinos might be able to, fly under the radar a bit, maybe work around the new tax. But Delta Corp, they're the industry leader. They have to play by the rules, and that puts them in a tough spot.
Yeah, they can't exactly cut corners without everyone noticing.
Yeah.
So how have they been handling this so far?
Well, at first they tried to absorb the GST hit themselves.
Just eat the cost.
Yeah, but that obviously wasn't sustainable. Then they tried passing the cost on to players, but...
Who wants to pay more to gamble?
Exactly, nobody.
Yeah.
So that led to a big drop in customers.
Makes sense. I mean, it's like finding out your favorite coffee shop suddenly jacked up their prices. You might start looking elsewhere.
For sure. So Delta Corp had to get creative, and they came up with this system where they offer full-value chips, but a portion of those are promotional chips that can't be cashed out and have to be played.
Interesting. So you're getting the same amount, but some of it's locked in?
Yeah, it's a clever way to offset the GST without directly impacting what players feel like they're getting.
It's like those bonus dollars you get at some grocery stores. Spend a certain amount and they give you extra, but you can only use it on a future purchase.
Exactly. But even with this workaround, Delta Corp's Q3 results show a 6% dip in visitors and a 12% drop in revenue compared to last year.
So this new tax is definitely having an impact despite their efforts.
Oh yeah, for sure. It raises the question, though, are their current strategies enough to weather this storm, or are they going to have to make some bigger changes?
Well, speaking of big changes, I was surprised to see that Delta Core is actually doubling down on their capacity. They're launching a new ship in Q3 of FY24.
Really?
Yeah. It seems kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It does seem like a bold move, considering the challenges they're facing. But you gotta remember, this is a company that's used to making big bets. This new ship's designed to be a complete entertainment destination. We're talking retail space restaurants, even a salon.
Hold on, a salon.
On a casino ship.
Yeah, they're going all out. They're betting on the long-term potential of the industry, even with the GST headwinds. So they're not just targeting hardcore gamblers anymore. It's like a whole vacation experience.
Exactly. And this expansion's a huge financial undertaking, too. On top of the new ship, they're also investing in a brand new 5-star deluxe hotel to handle all the extra guests.
Wow. So new regulations, a dip in revenue, and massive expansion plans all at the same time. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, but Delta Corp seems pretty unfazed.
They do. And to really understand their confidence, we need to look at the bigger picture of the Indian gaming industry and where Delta Corp fits in.
Okay, so what does that landscape look like? Could these new GST rules actually end up benefiting Delta Corp by squeezing out smaller competitors?
That's a really interesting question. And that's exactly what we're going to dig into next. We'll also explore how players are changing their behavior because of the GST and how Delta Corp is adjusting their online gaming strategy to stay ahead of the curve. This is just the beginning.
I can't wait. Buckle up, everyone. This deep dive's just getting started.
You were asking about the competition, and it's interesting because these new GST rules could actually help Delta Corp in the long run.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. If you're a small independent casino, you might be able to kind of absorb the tax or even find ways to, bend the rules a bit.
Like a backroom poker game in an old Western.
Exactly. But Delta Corp, they're huge. They're publicly listed. They can't afford any scandals. So these new regulations are a challenge for everyone, but they might actually weed out some of the smaller, less compliant players.
So it's like survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Only the strong survive.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why their expansion plans are so interesting. They're not just trying to survive, they're doubling down. They want to be the top dog.
It's a bold move, for sure.
It is. And remember, we talked about that drop in revenue? Well, Delta Corp's drop percentage has actually increased to 70%.
Yeah, hold on. What does that mean exactly? Are people losing more money because of the GST?
Not necessarily. What it means is people are being more cautious with their spending. Instead of buying in for a lot upfront, they're buying smaller stacks and topping up as needed.
So their money's staying in play for longer.
Exactly. And this is happening in both their physical casinos and their online platform.
Right. So how are they handling the online side of things? Because that sector's facing its own challenges with these new regulations.
Yeah, it seems like they're taking a more measured approach with online. They're focusing on building a sustainable model rather than just chasing crazy growth.
Makes sense. Why pour resources into a volatile online market when you've got a solid foundation in the physical casino business? Especially with that fancy new ship coming soon.
Speaking of that ship, they're really going all out to make it a one-of-a-kind experience. It's not just a casino, it's like a mini city on the water.
It's interesting, right? They're acknowledging the impact of the GST and adjusting their pricing, but at the same time, they're making this huge investment in this lavish entertainment experience. It almost seems contradictory.
You've hit the nail on the head. They're anticipating a shift in what customers want. Maybe people are looking for more than just gambling. They want a full entertainment experience.
So they're appealing to both the high rollers and a wider audience with all the extra stuff like the shopping and dining and entertainment.
Exactly, and don't forget about the water park.
Oh yeah, the water park. That's a curveball. Who would have thought Delta Corp, the casino giant, would be building a water park?
Right. It seems strange at first, but it makes sense. They're already in the entertainment business, and water parks are a big draw. Plus, it diversifies their offerings even more.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And it all ties back to that strategy of appealing to a wider audience. They're creating a whole leisure and entertainment empire in Goa. Okay, so we've got this evolving company adapting to the changes, making bold moves, diversifying. But with all these projects, how are they managing their money? This has to be putting a strain on their resources.
That's a key question, and they actually addressed it in their earnings call. They emphasized their strong cash position and said their current operations are generating enough cash flow to fund their investment.
So they're not just spending recklessly.
No, not at all.
No.
They said they have around Rs 500 crores in reserves, even after investing Rs 100 crores in that joint venture with Peninsula Land. And they're generating more income from those reserves, too.
Right, the joint venture, that's another interesting piece of this. They're not just betting on the casino industry bouncing back, but also branching out into real estate.
It's a smart move. They're partnering with Peninsula Land, who specialize in quick turnaround projects, redevelopment in Mumbai and Goa. 2 to 3 year turnaround, expected return of 25–30%.
Wow, those are some impressive numbers.
They are. It seems like they're playing the real estate game just as strategically as they're navigating the casino world.
And speaking of strategy, they've still got those massive GST demands hanging over their heads.
Oh yeah, those legal battles are still a major challenge. Those show cause notices demanding over Rs 23,000 crores in back taxes. That's a huge threat.
How are they even dealing with that level of uncertainty?
They're fighting it. They've got stay orders from high courts while the case goes to the Supreme Court. It's a massive hurdle.
It's like a high-stakes poker game and they're holding their cards close to the vest.
Exactly. And that's where their diversification is key. By spreading their risk across different sectors, they're less vulnerable. If the casino business struggles, they've got the real estate and other investments to cushion the blow.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And Delta Corp seems to be taking that advice to heart. They're building a business that can weather the storms and seize opportunities when they pop up.
Playing the long game. Not just reacting, but strategically planning for the future.
It seems that way. They're adapting to the regulations, exploring new markets, diversifying. But the big question is, are these moves enough to guarantee their success, or are they setting themselves up for a big loss?
That's the million-dollar question. We've looked at the facts, the challenges, the opportunities. Now it's up to you, the listener. What stands out to you about Delta Corp's journey? Are they being smart about it, or are they just crossing their fingers and hoping for the best?
That's the big question, isn't it? And I think to really answer that, we need to look at Delta Corp's story as part of a bigger trend.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, think about it. We're living in a time of crazy change, right? Regulations change all the time. Consumer behavior is always evolving. New technologies are popping up. Companies that can't adapt get left behind.
Right. It's like Blockbuster holding on to VHS rentals while Netflix took over streaming.
Exactly. And Delta Corp, at least so far, they seem to get that. They're not pretending everything's fine. They're looking for creative solutions to the GST problem. They're exploring new markets and they're diversifying.
Like their whole thing with the promotional chips.
Mm.
It's not perfect, but at least they're trying new things.
Exactly. And it shows they understand how customers think. They figured out a way to keep customers happy while also following the tax rules.
It's a tough balance for sure. And then there's a whole legal battle over those GST demands hanging over their heads.
Oh, yeah, those show cost notices are a huge wild card. If they lose those cases, it could really hurt them.
It's a gamble, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's say things don't go their way. What are their options? What are backup plans?
Well, first off, they have a pretty diverse portfolio. Their real estate venture is still new, but it could bring in some good money if the casino business struggles.
True. And they're already seeing good returns on that investment.
Exactly. And they've got a strong brand, too. People know and trust Delta Corp. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah, they've definitely got name recognition. It's like when you travel and you always pick the same hotel chain because you know what to expect.
Right. It's familiar. And on top of that, they have a really good track record. They've successfully launched multiple casinos and hotels, and they're always trying to improve and keep their customers happy.
So they're not just talk, they actually deliver.
Exactly. That gives investors and customers confidence.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot. The GST, their expansion plans, the real estate venture, the legal battles, their finances, their willingness to adapt. It's complicated, but definitely interesting.
It is, and I think it shows how important it is for businesses to be able to adapt. Regulations change, consumer behavior changes, new technology pops up. You got to be able to roll with the punches.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Exactly, and Delta Corp seems to be doing that. They're shaping their own future.
So the question is, will they come out on top?
Yeah.
Will they survive all this and become even stronger? We'll have to wait and see. But one thing's for sure. Their journey is a pretty good example of how to be resilient, how to adapt, and how to take risks.
And we've given you, our listener, the information you need to decide for yourself. What do you think? Is Delta Corp making the right moves? Are their bets paying off?
Let us know what you think. And if this deep dive has made you curious about other companies or industries facing similar challenges, we'd love to hear from you. We're always ready to explore the world of business and see what the future holds.